What's going on, everybody? Paul Tech here, and welcome to my revisit review of the LG G2 in 2018. Now, the LG G2 was one of the most powerful smartphones of its time. It was released back in September of 2013, and it did retail for a little bit over $600. So I'm going to share with you my experience of using the LG G2 as a daily driver and how it holds up today in 2018. Now, I did purchase this off eBay for the low price of $59.99 plus free shipping. So as you can see there, LG G2, 32 gigabytes, Android White for T-Mobile. Let me go ahead and give you a quick tour around the LG G2. So as you can see to the right hand side, there's no buttons whatsoever. And taking a look towards the bottom, you are getting a 3.5mm headphone jack, your microphone, micro USB charging on this, and then a single down-firing speaker to the far right bottom of the G2. Taking a look at the left hand side, you have a tray there which is housing your SIM card. Unfortunately, there's no micro SD card expansion on the LG G2. Taking a look up on top, you got your noise cancellation mic as well as an IR blaster. And taking a look at the back of the LG G2, you're getting a 13 megapixel f2.4 aperture camera, LED flash, that signature LG button placement to the back there, volume rockers, power button, which is also your LED notification light, LG branding, as well as T-Mobile branding on this model here. As you can see, you're getting pretty much a plastic constructed smartphone here with the G2. The back cover is pretty glossy, can pick up some fingerprints and oils. It has a nice form factor, nice design to it, non-removable battery on this, 3000 milliamps. Now when it comes to those buttons to the back there, I honestly love the back button placement. I think they're nice and easy to reach. The volume rockers, the power button, I mean, your finger just kind of rests naturally to the back of the LG G2, and the buttons are still nice, tactile, and responsive. And moving on to the display now. So with the LG G2, you are getting a 5.2 inch HD IPS LCD capacitive touchscreen. Now 5.2 inches is actually a really good sweet spot for me. You can actually get some decent one-handed operation on this device, 75.9% screen to body ratio. So as you can see, you got some really nice slim bezels on the LG G2. 1080 by 1920 resolution. You are getting that 16:9 aspect ratio, about 424 pixels per inch. This does have Corning Gorilla Glass 2. You have a glove mode on this as well. And for the LG G2 being released back in 2013, this display is still very much acceptable today in 2018. I'm telling you, this is a fantastic 1080p panel. Colors look nice. You got good color reproduction. Viewing angles are actually very good, and just take a look at how slim those bezels are to the G2. Outdoor visibility is going to be another area where the LG G2 does pretty good. You got your auto brightness, so if you go indoors or outdoors, the auto brightness does adjust accordingly, but you know, I get some pretty decent visibility when I'm outdoors with the LG G2. And moving on to 4G LTE connectivity, it's actually really good on the G2. As you can see, I got 4 bars, and I was using this on Metro PCS with no issues whatsoever. When it comes to Wi-Fi, you can connect to the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi as well, and Bluetooth connectivity was perfect on the G2. Moving on to call quality on the LG G2, I would say it is about average. Callers did say I sounded a little bit tinny when I was talking to them, but I never dropped calls or anything like that. You also got a one-handed mode on this, which is actually pretty cool within the phone dialer under settings. Now moving on to the messaging application, keyboard sensitivity, it was actually pretty good. I didn't really have any issues while sending out text messages, emails, or anything like that. And the LG G2 is packed with a lot of features, a lot of options. So for instance, if you go under the LG keyboard, under settings, you can also adjust a variety of things, split keyboard. You can adjust the keyboard height. So if you have larger hands, you can drag up the keyboard, make it a little longer. If you have smaller hands, you can just drag down the keyboard depending on your preference. You also have ways of changing up the conversation theme. So you can change the background wallpaper from the ones that are already pre-installed, or you can choose from your gallery. And you also have the option of changing up the bubbles to your text messages. So I like all that stuff, real neat. So what's under the hood of the LG G2? You are getting the Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 series processor, clocked at 2.2 gigahertz, the Adreno 330, as well as 2 gigs of RAM. Now when it comes to the sensors, you are getting a wide variety of sensors. You are getting the gyroscope, So you're going to be able to use this for VR 360 videos. Now if you get the Verizon variant, it also comes with wireless charging. Unfortunately, the T-Mobile variant does not have wireless charging, so just kind of keep that in mind. And moving on to performance on the LG G2. It actually performs pretty good today in 2018. Again, this is one of the most powerful smartphones of its time in 2013, but it's still pretty fluid, it's still pretty responsive. It's not going to be as fast as like a flagship today, but it is going to be a lot faster than a budget phone of today. Now, I do like the fact that the LG G2 does support Google Assistant. That's actually pretty neat to see a phone from 2013 that does support Google Assistant today in 2018. You're also getting your on-screen buttons to the bottom there. And I like the fact that if you go under settings, you can switch up the button combination, the on-screen buttons there, so you can add quick memo, Qslide, this little drop-down option for the status bar. And going back to the performance aspect of the LG G2, again, I was pretty happy with the amount of time it does take to launch an application. Again, it's not going to be blazing fast or anything like that, but you might notice just a pause right before the app launches, but then it does launch the application. So, performance is good. It's pretty solid. Now, I did notice some applications might not be supported on the Google Play Store on the G2 because it is running an older version of Android. Now, it does only have 2 gigs of RAM, so you don't want to throw a whole lot at the G2 because, at least for me, I did notice it started slowing down once I got too many apps open in the background. So just try to keep those apps down to a minimum if you decide to purchase the G2. A feature that I really like using on the G2, and I said this on my G3 revisit video also, was Qslide Applications. I like the fact that you can have like your dialer open up, then you can go into your messaging, your browser, your calendar, your emails. So, it just gives you a way of multitasking further with the LG G2. And I also like the fact that the G2 has NFC, so you can use Android Beam, Smart Share Beam, as well as Miracast. You also got the IR blaster on the G2, which is one of my favorite features. And as you can see, you can control a variety of devices like your air conditioner, a projector. And when it comes to the TV, it pretty much supports a wide variety of different TV models, and the IR Blaster still works great today in 2018. And moving on from there, the LG G2 also has dual notification LED lights. So one on the front and one on the back. So no matter how you have your G2 laying on a surface, you're gonna see your notifications coming in. So I like the fact that the power button acts as a notification LED light also. Moving on into internal storage. So the LG G2 has 32 gigabytes of internal storage, and which is going to be kind of negative for some people. It might even be a deal breaker that there's no expandable storage on this. So you cannot input a micro SD card. So just kind of keep that in mind, only 32 gigs. And moving on from there, I'm going to go ahead and jump into software info. So the last official update the G2 received was 5.0.2 Lollipop. Even though it is running an older version of Android, it still does pretty good today in 2018. Now there are ways of rooting the LG G2, and you can also add a custom ROM, which would be a great option too, because you can pick this up at such an affordable price. So just, root this device, add a custom ROM, you'll be good to go. And moving on to the cameras. So you're getting a 13 megapixel rear facing camera and a 2.1 megapixel front facing camera. The front facing camera is just okay. The rear facing camera is actually pretty good in my opinion. It's an f2.4 aperture, you got autofocus, optical image stabilization. You got a variety of modes to choose from. I mean, you got shot and clear, panorama, portrait, dual camera, a lot of good stuff baked into the camera settings of the G2. Now moving on to video recording, jump into settings here. So you got audio zoom. You can record in full HD at 60 frames per second, which that's my personal favorite. You got a variety of modes here, normal, dual recording, and tracking and zoom. So the G2 can actually take some really nice photos and videos with that 13 megapixel camera. And the front facing camera, like I said, it's just okay. It's nothing spectacular. It does pretty good in low light, that 13 megapixel camera. But here are some photos samples shot on the LG G2. Now when it comes to the Antutu benchmark test, the scores that I did get was 65,992 for those that were interested. And when it comes to gameplay, the LG G2 does a pretty good job at gameplay. It's not the best gaming device out there, but pretty much all the games I downloaded off the Google Play Store downloaded perfectly fine. I did notice that at extended periods of gameplay, the back can get kind of warm, nothing to be alarmed about, but it does get a little warm to the back. And you can also play PUBG on this, and you might notice some drops in frames here and there, but overall it's a pretty good gaming experience on the LG G2 in 2018. Now when it comes to the single down firing speaker, audio quality, so the far right speaker is the down firing speaker, the far left one by the 3.5mm headphone jack is just the microphone to look like a down firing speaker. Audio sounds okay, it's decent. It can get a little tinny at high volume, so just kind of keep that in mind. But here's some audio sample from the bottom firing speaker of the G2. Now when it comes to battery life on the LG G2, again, you're getting that non-removable 3000 milliamp hour battery. And I think the battery life has degraded over the years on my unit here. I was only able to get about almost 3.5 hours of screen on time, and some days I couldn't make it to the end of the day. I had to charge up. Now charging times is actually pretty fast on the G2. Well, that pretty much does it for my revisit review of the LG G2. Now considering this device was released back in 2013, I think it does hold up pretty good today in 2018 for my experience of using it as my daily driver. And it's pretty awesome. You can pick this device up for as low as $60 now. And even for 60 bucks, I think you are getting some pretty good features. A lot of good stuff here with the G2. So might be a good option for you if you are on a budget. And again, you can always root this device, add a custom ROM, and there's ways of doing that and you'll be good to go as well. Well, hopefully you guys did enjoy this trip down memory lane. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button and please subscribe to the channel for more future videos. This is Paul Tech, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye.